Welcome into another video. I am joined here with my guy, Lucas Hoig, my co-host on Around the Loop, and we are going to be bringing you today our Bears 7-round mock draft 2.0. But first, Kyler Gordon extension, Lucas. You
I
feeling
love
good
it.
about that?
Oh, we've been talking about that one for a while. I think that's still going to be the next jersey I get, especially now that we see the extension coming in just after Jalen Petre got his, and a little bit more money too. So I'm ready to buy the jersey. I think it's a well-deserved move, and yeah, King Poles does it again.
It worked out. Kyler Gordon, good ball player, great nickelback, one of the best in the league. Before we move in, I'm going to pull up the results here real quick from our last one. You could see in our last one, we had the trade back, which I think we both can agree that we'd be willing to do again today,
For sure.
receiving pick 50 and a next year's 4th round pick, trading back and getting Simmons, 39, landing Landon Jackson, Xavier Watts, Maxwell Hairston, the infamous F grade for Bishul Tutin, the Luke Kandra pick, and the Smail Mondon Jr. pick, and the Joshua Gray pick, all in the back half of the draft. Now I want to talk to you real quick about some guys that you want nothing to do with here at pick 10, because the more I've dove deeper into this class, the less I want some of these guys now.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any clear cut, I don't want this guy at 10,
I
or
think
are you kind of open to whatever?
at the end of the day, I'm going to be open to whatever. Like, I had some thoughts about the Darnell Wright pick as we were getting towards the draft. And it sounded like, that was their guy and that's who they were going to end up going with. And obviously didn't love that at the time, but I've come to love it. So there's nobody I'm going to be super, super pissed with or just feel like, ah, man, I'm upset because we got a good draft coming. I can feel that. But I don't think I'll be super excited. And unfortunately, I think it's a realistic possibility about Kelvin Banks. He's good. He's solid. He's, had a good career, played in the SEC against top talent. One of those guys, I don't know if he'll be a tackler, if he'll be a guard. And so does that really excite you if you kind of got it in betweener? So I don't know. Like I said, I'll be happy with it. We'll be beefing up the trenches. So at the end of the day, I think there's always a pro there, but it won't excite me as much as most others will.
I would probably agree with you. Banks would probably be the 4th or 5th offensive lineman at 10 that I
Yeah.
would want, depending on who's there. Obviously, Campbell, Membo, Simmons, all three 100% ahead of Calvin Banks. Yeah, so I'd probably say around 4, and I don't think all the 3 of those are going to be gone before 10. So if that's a decision that we make, I don't think I'd be that excited about it. My guy is slowly becoming Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
Just because I'm sorry, you have that little of production in that many college football games, that really does kind of worry me a little bit. And Dennis Allen is very infamous for drafting these big freak athletes at the edge position, and his success rate at turning them into, good football players hasn't really always necessarily worked out. Marcus Davenport being a big one
Yeah.
for sure.
It's like Shamar Stewart's one of those guys where you won't be excited about him until he gives you a reason to be. Whereas
Mhm.
an Ashton Genty, for example, you're excited because you know what he's capable of. There's no question. If if he's playing against the talent that he was at Boise State, how talented he is. But we haven't even seen great production at the college level from Shamar Stewart. So that's one of those that I agree. I think that's him and Banks will probably be my 2 semi-likely, where we stand right now, at least, possibilities that I'll need to see it to be happy with.
Agreed. Let's go ahead and dive right into it, baby. Let's get it pulled up here. There we go. The 2025 mock draft 2.0 for our Chicago Bears. 7 rounds. I believe we left this the same last time. No, don't believe we made any switches.
We bumped the positional value up 1 knock, and I think that was the only thing we did.
Positional value up 1 knock. Let's get this speed slow for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're probably not trading up today, correct?
I think that's probably safe to say. I think the one maybe storyline, if you want to call it that, since our last mock draft, I think the top of the draft is starting to solidify. That's kind of what it seems like. I think Cam Ward, we felt comfortable going 1 overall at the very least last time we did this, but I think now, maybe picks 1 through 8, maybe 1 through 9, with the Derek Carr news might be a little bit more easy to pan out. So yeah, I don't think we'll be trading up. I don't think that, barring a major slip from, like an Abdul Carter, a Mason Graham down to like a 7, 8, 9. Um, I don't see that happening. So
Hmm.
I don't know that we'll go that path today.
So let's go ahead and start the draft here. Cam Ward, I would assume, is going to be the number one overall pick. Yes, there we go. Travis Hunter, which, okay, that's starting to seem like Shadur. Okay, so this is kind of falling how we could expect it to here.
Yeah, I think this is
Mason
definitely
Graham, is PFF on top of it? Their shit? Wow. Are they on top of their shit for once?
we might have
This is
picked the golden
looking
draft.
okay. Jade Barron, that's a whoa.
That's a
Will
surprise.
Campbell. That is okay. So that's a rough board right there.
It's
Like
a board.
Campbell, that's a rough one though. Campbell, J&T, Graham, gone.
Yeah.
Membo, gone. We're sitting here, no running back available with 2 trade offers on the board. Arizona, very intriguing. Commanders, I would assume a little too much for you to go back. Yes.
Yeah, I don't really have interest in leaving like the early 20s, in any type of trade here. I don't know. Let's see what talent we got here. Maybe we taking a different approach this time around, and hit some of those studs that we know and we like with our 2 seconds.
Okay. 100%. I would agree with you. Okay. So, Tet, no.
No, no.
Walter Nolan, yeah, this is a stretch for me here. Walter Nolan's a reach. He's starting to, rise up on my boards a little bit as, I'm diving into my IDL film. Uh, Video comes out Thursday. Malachi Starks, I would prefer not to jump on a safety this early. I don't know how you feel about that. I personally, after just going through the safeties, don't view him as a top 10 pick.
No, I'd be surprised if he went top 10, especially with us being the cap there. I don't see that happening.
Mm-hmm. And then any interest in Tyler Warren?
I think that's the conversation here. I think I've gone back and forth. I don't I don't know if he really stands out. It feels uncomfortable saying like he doesn't really stand out in any aspect. Like this part of your offense is gonna get better, or he's the best this in the league, but he's just so good at everything. And the way that he would be utilized in our offense with Ben Johnson, that makes me giddy. Like him and Genti, I think are the two like real game changers. Your offense is going to be built around these two as focal points. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Warren to a lesser extent for sure, but just how many different ways Penn State utilized him, how he excelled in everything that he did. Like that's a pick that I would be more excited about a, we'll say, boring pick like a Kelvin Banks. I would prefer Warren here. So I'm on the train. If that happens on draft night, um, I'll be pumped. That's one of those guys that might just be a Chicago Bear.
Really? See, look, like now you're telling me that we're getting Bowers. I'm for it. And Tyler Warren does a lot well, but to me, I just don't know if he's fully jumping off the page to me. It's like this is going to be a guy who's going to come in and be an elite game changer. I like hearing that Dennis Allen thinks that he's going to be a problem for opposing teams. I like
Mm-hmm.
hearing Ben Johnson talk about him. That's just an all-around football player. I just don't know if I want to spend pick 10 on a tight end, if I'm being honest with you. I think that we are going into like year 5 or year 6 of Cole Kmet. So it's kind of like, when is that untapped potential going to be reached that we think he has? Excuses kind of have to stop rolling here, but he also hasn't been dealt the best hand. Like we can't all be in agreement that he hasn't been utilized to the fullest of his potential.
Yeah.
It's just, I think we're just drafting another big body tight end. He's not like the true stud receiver, line him up in the slot kind of guy. He is a guy you can line up all over, and he is a very detailed route runner. But it's just like I don't know if he's going to have the speed or the playmaking ability to fully like So this is kind of like the Cam Scadaboo of like tight ends. Like, yeah, you can use him all over. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's gonna be fun, but do I want to draft the Cam Scadaboo of the tight end group at 10
that's valid. That's
for the
valid.
Bears at least? I think there's a lot of teams who could use the value for him, but I just don't know if I want to spend that on pick 10. Let's see what we can cook up from Arizona. Would you agree with that, or do you want to go Warren here?
We can go a lot of different options. We can see what we get from Arizona. I think it'll be pretty similar, and we'll have a few more darts just like we did with our last mock draft. So I think you and I both agree that's still plan A here. Pick up some more picks, like even that 16 and 47. If you tell me that's what happens on draft day, I'm pleased. I sure am. What's the case for Arizona trading up here? So if you're Arizona, what are some of their needs? What is PFF saying their needs are?
Guard, defensive line, cornerback. So I mean, you see same needs here at 11 for the 49ers. They could be coming up for, let's say, like Will Johnson, a guy who a lot of people think, especially me, think is worthy of a top 10 pick in this draft class.
Yeah.
So that could be one of their decisions here.
If you
Um,
like Walter Nolan, if you like any of the other Derek Harmon, any of those interior defensive line, Kenneth Grant, been a guy I've always been high on. Maybe you
yep.
jump in front of San Francisco here, do something there. So I think there is a scenario out there where Arizona does want to jump up here, get their choice. Let's do it. Let's see if they grab at it.
16 and 47, I think, sounds to me realistic. A six pick jump, you're jumping into the top 10 threshold. I don't know if this would be like the real thing that gets done. Okay, well, it's done.
It's done. It's
All
done.
right, we have traded back again now, which I think if I have an option to trade back, I'm going to want to trade back. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna. They came up for Ted McMillan, probably smoking crack. That probably won't happen, but we don't worry about it. This is the Bears mock draft. Once it's done, it's done. We don't really golden to Indianapolis. That's fun.
Jalen,
Jalen Walker.
that's a good pick.
Okay, all right. Tyler Warren's still sitting there
Yeah.
at 16, dude.
Yeah, I think that's the one that jumps off the board here. I also think there's a few guys now that you're at 16 where Josh Simmons, our first round pick from last mock draft, Malachi Starks here. Like I think 16 is a realistic range that he goes come draft day. Mike Green, maybe James Pierce. I think mixed feelings there, but a lot of these guys now that we're past that top 10, um, anyone's ball game.
See, look, I don't want to be boring here and do the exact same thing that we did in the last
Mhm.
mock draft, but
Mhm.
like that's how, like, if you wanted to sit there and me and you go back and forth on taking Josh Simmons at 10, like I would be okay with that at the end of the day. I think me and you have both grown over the last few years and realized the value of trenches. I do remember having the conversation with you about Darnell, right, where it's like Jalen Carter was sitting right there, it's boring, what are we doing? But I think looking back, like you said, looking back on it now, very happy that we made this selection overall. I think I woke up that Friday morning after we made the Darnell Wright pick, very happy. So if you want to sit there and go back and forth and be like, yeah, we should take Josh Simmons at 10, I'm all for it. I think he's the best left tackle in this draft class.
Mhm.
So I think if I'm here, I'm pounding the wall at 16 for Josh Simmons. But if you want to go a different direction, I understand.
Let's switch it up a little bit here. Let's go Tyler Warren and see what type of talent at the offensive line, defensive line, and edge makes its way to the 3 second rounders we have.
Now, see, look, if we traded back to 16 and we drafted Tyler Warren, I'd probably feel a little bit better about that, getting that 47 involved as well,
Yeah.
more swings at it. So, all right, let's go Tyler Warren here. Not necessarily a need, more of a luxury pick for the Chicago Bears here.
All right, we got 3 picks in the next 10 here.
All right, I think that's hilarious. Alec Manor going that high. Wow, he has flown up the boards, hasn't he? When did they've updated their shit here?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Omar Norman Lott has really flown up the boards. Okay, so what are we thinking here?
Yeah. So the first name that jumps off to me, someone, and we've talked about how there's not a ton of guys that we've seen the Bears have an official top 30 visit for. One of those guys is left tackle Josh Connerly Jr. from Oregon. Been watching a little bit more of his tape, familiarizing myself now when I'm kind of exploring some of these possibilities and not going offensive line with that first pick. That's one of those guys where I think for sure is going to be a left tackle, not someone who you question if he's going to be moved inside, which at this point, 39 wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world by any means. But
Mm-hmm.
Josh Connerly is certainly someone who stands out to me right now.
I am 100% on board with you here. I really like the idea of going Josh Connerly. Some safeties here. We are, I think there's a good chance we could really cook up a good 3 picks here. I know that last time we went Watts and Jackson. Hairston's still available.
Mm-hmm.
The more Derek Harmon film I watch, the better.
Yeah.
Like, he is an actual game wrecker inside, but right here, right now, I think Connerly is the correct selection. I think me and you are both on the same page here.
Yeah, there's a lot of good defensive players, and there's only one strong tackle
Yep,
in this
still
kind of range.
available here.
Typically, see,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that there's a good chance that he's not available here on draft night. Or at least if he's not going at least in this range a little bit more, maybe.
yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and land ourselves Josh Connerly, tackle out of Oregon.
May very well end up being Caleb Williams.
Oh, there goes Derek Harmon. We should have took Harmon. They took Campbell. We should have went Harmon and Collin early. We didn't really think about our draft strategy too much there. It's
Yeah,
okay.
that hurts.
It's okay because I was really, yeah, that does suck. But that's okay. It gives us something to talk about. For me, Kevin Winston Jr., if he didn't tear his ACL, he would probably be my top 3. But I don't know. I'm like an Xavier Watts more here. Kevin Winston Jr., very similar to what I would compare Jaquan Brisker to. More of a box, not really great over the top. And I think Watts would probably fit into our system better. If we want to go defensive line here, I'm so down for going Landon Jackson again. What are you thinking?
Yeah, we also have Donovan Jackson, who, I think at this point, making the 2 big moves in offensive line during free agency and going tackle and tight end. Maybe want to steer away, hit the defensive side, and give Dennis Allen a warm welcome to the Chicago Bears and show him a little love here. So I like targeting safety. There's 2 that kind of stand out within this range, being Watson and Winston. And then I've been wondering, and it's kind of shocked me to see so much, if the Bears are going to go wide receiver with any of their earlier picks. I would just be blown away if it's any of the first 3, or in our case, first 4 here. But they've had a few wide receivers in on 30 visits, and so maybe a position we need to target with one of our later picks here. So, yeah, what do we want to do? I think I like Watts. Feels like a safe pick. A definite need at safety. We've talked about how shaky both of our starting safeties are right now. And they very well could come out and have a stellar year if we don't draft a replacement right now. But I think the odds probably wouldn't be in favor. So I think either Watts or Jackson would be my 2 picks.
I feel like if we come out of our first 3 picks going tight end, tackle, safety, I'll be a little upset. 47 here is nice. I would prefer to see if Landon Jackson, I would prefer to see if Xavier Watts will fall to 47 over Landon Jackson, in my opinion.
And if we take Jackson here, maybe we get Winston. Maybe Watts goes and we still got Winston. We got 2 darts to throw.
Okay, let's throw Jackson here, and then me and you will talk about Winston at 47. Right. But I'm down. You cool with Jackson?
So
if Winston's available.
Yeah, gosh, I'd be so happy. You know that.
Yeah, I did say in my safeties video how much of a soft spot I have for Penn State safeties. Adrian Amos, Jaquan Brisker. See, look, there goes Xavier Watts. All right, he's available. Now I want to make the argument here for jumping on the RB train. Well, let's see who's gone. We got Caleb Johnson gone.
Just
Caleb Johnson, Yep, just went. Let's see. Okay, let's filter this to running backs here. Who's still available? Scadaboo, Sampson, Henderson, Judkins. So the four are available.
Yeah.
Do you see a route where we trade back to 47 and then trade back again? Do you think he gets that trigger happy with it? Or are we getting too unrealistic, is what I want to say?
I think maybe a little too unrealistic. I think probably would prefer to, like, ideally, yeah, we nail that, but goes back to this being one of those drafts where a lot of people are just kind of sitting still. What's really the scenario where someone gives up draft capital to jump up in the second round of this draft? I don't know if we
Mm-hmm.
trade back twice with the same pick, but I'd love it if we pulled that off, King Poles.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm gonna go ahead and make the case for Cam Scadaboo over. See, look, last time I think I look back on it, I love me some Maxwell Harrison. I do. I think he's an
Yeah.
electric playmaker, super fast. Um, and I love me some, you know, Kevin Winston Jr. But I really look back on it last time, and I kind of regret not going halfback at 40 at our when we had 50 last time.
And
I kind
and
of
you'd
do.
rather have Scadaboo than Travion Henderson?
Here, okay, now let's go into this a little bit here. Then is DeAndre? If you're the Chicago Bears, do you want DeAndre Swift a part of your future? The next 2 years, do you want him here playing football? Because if you
I
do,
don't think
then
he's
it's got to be
playing. I don't think he's playing football for 2 more seasons as a Chicago Bear.
okay. Well, then Travion Henderson would be my selection. But if he's a part of your plans this year, I worry about even Travion Henderson being a part of your plans this year. Like that much. Like a good pairing with him could be Scadaboo and Swift for a good year one. And I think Scadaboo is a guy you don't have to worry about being able to take on a season's worth of, the load if he's alone next year and they move on from a guy like DeAndre Swift. This is a guy who can carry the ball 25 times and just wear down defenses all game long.
Yeah, I think Henderson's the better player, but
Mm-hmm.
I think Scadaboo's worthy of going at 47. I think they all are. And so you've talked me into it enough to take him here. And I was definitely leaning running back with one of these picks, especially taking tight end with our first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
We got two stellar players, we both think, but we've needed a running back coming into the draft that hasn't changed. So Scadaboo's a great one.
100%. And I think the ceiling of Travion Henderson is enormous. He is my RB3, but Scadaboo is my RB4, and I feel like he's a safer guy. He's not a guy who struggles with the interior vision like Travion Henderson does. It's just once Henderson gets outside, he's unreal. He does look like Jahmyr Gibbs so much. He just has that extra gear. He hits it and he's gone. We're not going to have a home run hitter on this offense like that, like they had in Detroit. But I think if you want to get closest to what, recreating as you possibly can with Montgomery and Gibbs, I think Swift and Scadaboo for this year. And then you can, down the line get, another running back. I think Scadaboo would be a great player to have in the RBC, but he's also a guy who I think could take on an entire season's workload. So let's go
Yeah,
ahead and go Cam Scadaboo here at 47.
let's do it.
So we're just recapping here real quick. We've gone Tyler Warren, Josh Connerly, Landon Jackson, Cam Scadaboo. I'm feeling good about this,
I'm feeling
and
great.
I think we're gonna get some good ball players at 72. I will be a little upset if any of the running backs that we just talked about are available. This is where we can have a little fun with this now. We can have a little fun here. I'm a little
Jackson
upset to
Dart.
see
If
both of those guys go.
if
Jackson
Cleveland
Dart
picks
in the
up
third
Jackson Dart in the
round.
third round, they'd be throwing parties in the streets.
Dylan
And look,
Sampson slipped. Kevin
looky,
Winston Jr. slipped. Wow. He fell.
yeah,
This is a guy who I think is worthy of a second round pick. And I think if he didn't tear his ACL and he recreated what he did in 2023, he would be probably reaching into the late first, early second tier.
I
Like
know we're in
I'm
the I know we're in the third and not the fourth here. You know who that story kind of reminds me of, though? Former Bear, former Bojack broke
yeah, a
his
little Eddie
leg,
Jackson.
but a first round talent, and he had a heck
Mm-hmm.
of a career here.
Listen, if you want to go Kevin Winston Jr. here. I'm down to just sell this right now. I see that we are bringing in Kyle Williams. This is somebody who's interesting. This is somebody who I don't think he could be available at 72, but I think he's going to be creeping up into the late second, if I'm being honest with you.
I believe they're also bringing in Tate Ratledge on a visit.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I saw that today.
I saw, and then what was they've been bringing in some random ones. Where's my boy Brashard Smith? He's still available? Where's he at? Now that is a duo I could get behind. Brashard Smith and Cam Scatterbo, dude.
You like that?
Brashard Smith is still available in the 5th round. We are taking Brashard Smith. We are shipping DeAndre Swift to whoever will take him for whatever pick, and we are running with that duo of the backfield. I promise you that. Let's go Kevin Winston Jr. right now. Let's lock it in.
Man, this is panning out well.
I think so. A couple of Penn State boys. Milrow to the Jets. Justin Fields. Doesn't like to talk on rhetorical questions. Did you see that? Did you see that?
Yeah, not the word you're looking for there, Justin.
All right, see how this board falls. We could speed this one up a little bit. We're not picking here for a while. Jalen Noel, a great selection there, I think. Maybe go a little faster here. A little faster. We're not up for what we have. It's not a 4th round pick. That's going to be a 5th round pick. Yeah.
Yeah, no 4th round pick this year, courtesy of Austin Booker.
Steelers drafting Dylan Gabriel. I saw there.
You think Aaron Rodgers is ever going to sign?
Brashard Smith to the Vikings? I want to die. They took Omarion Hampton and Brashard Smith? Dude, I'm pissed.
Was it
all
the
right,
Vikings?
I'm in. Yeah, and I'm in.
Let's do it. Oh, man.
I'm so down for this.
This is great.
This is my wide receiver 5. Chris Sims was smoking a little crack having him as a wide receiver 2. I thought he was kind of a little bit crazy there. What do we do? So we've addressed, the defensive line with an edge rusher, Connerly tackle. We got Tyler Warren, a game, playmaking tight end.
For sure.
We got the Tyler Warrens of the running backs. We got a good safety. This is okay. We don't want to play a little game and hear me out. No, Kyle Williams has got to be the pick, but ETN could be the 2-back here that we're talking about. I want to go Kyle Williams, but
we didn't want to draft Travion Henderson because he was like Swift, but we'll draft Trevor Etienne.
Brother, Etienne, if we draft Etienne, DeAndre Swift's out the door. Now I'll rather have DeAndre Swift over Etienne though.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and take Kyle Williams. Let's go ahead and do it, dude.
Yeah.
Ola Media, Zacchaeus, enjoy the 4th spot maybe.
Yeah, Tyler Scott, good riddance. I think the only other thing, and when you get into these picks, it's not like you're still filling needs by drafting this position. We haven't hit interior defensive line, which, we could always bolster a little bit, but I feel strong about that group for this season at least. I didn't see him go.
He might be gone.
No, there he is. Middle screen.
Where?
Smale?
No, dude, I was talking Luke Kandra.
Oh, Luke Kandra went a long time. Luke Kandra went 3rd round.
What pick are we at right now?
230 something?
Luke Kandra went in the 3rd round. We got him in the 5th last time. He's skyrocketing. We were on him. I
think he went 3rd or 4th round.
We were on him. All right. Let's go our boy then again. Smale, the fucking freak of nature. We're going back to back. Smale, Mondin Juniors, and then Joshua Grays.
It's the cornerstone of our drafts. That's the character. That's the personality of your team.
Who is this guy? I haven't dove deep into. I'm just getting into my defensive interior now.
Let's see some measurables.
First look, 6'6", 310. He's a bear.
Yeah.
What about this kid from SMU?
Let's see some measurables.
6'4", 294.
A little light, son.
A little light on my. All right, yeah. Ty Robinson out of Nebraska, you are a bear. Oh, Joshua Goy ran anyway. Oh, sickening. All right, we're going Ty Robinson. 6'6", 310. So for it.
What a
Let's bring this
draft.
draft up. What a draft.
I mean, similar approach with the trade back from 10 and then go from there.
It's a pretty
But
good score
think
there.
I feel
Top
much better about
32.
this one.
We got an A plus
Of course we
and
did.
top 32% of Chicago Bears drafts.
I mean, I know tight
Let's look at
end
this.
and Tyler Warren might not be the pick come draft day, but the picks that we were able to get in the second
Yeah.
round, Connerly, Jackson, Scadaboo, and then
Let me
Winston
move
in the
this down a
third.
little bit so the folks can see it better. There we go. Yeah, I don't know, man. Tyler Warren, it's just like I'm not against it. Adding a guy like that who Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen, who've talked very highly of in the
Mm-hmm.
media. If you could fall back to 16 and get a guy like that, I'm all for it at that point. But I don't think there's a realistic possibility that he's available at 16. I guess we've seen crazier things happen on draft night than
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Warren slipping to 16. But I think when you look at this draft class, he's not available at 16. But he was today, and we took him, and they only gave us an A for it. Maybe smoking crack a little bit. Connerly, 39. I love that move. Landon Jackson, I think me and you are both high on Landon Jackson. Cam Scadaboo, great pick. Kevin Winston Jr. at 72, I think, is a phenomenal pick. Kyle Williams in the 5th round is you got my number 5 safety, you got my number 5 wide receiver, you've got my number 4 running back, and I haven't dove into the edge rushers yet, but I promise you that Landon Jackson, from what I've seen so far, I'm gonna have him ranked higher than Shamar Stewart. Like I am. Like I'm gonna just say it right now. Like I don't care how much of a freak athlete he is. The little that me and you have both watched of Landon Jackson, we like more than Shamar Stewart. At least for me,
For
at least
sure.
from my
For sure.
personal opinion.
Yeah.
So if you can tell me that we're getting, in my opinion, it's like all of those guys, like that's a hell of a draft. That's a hell of a draft. And yeah, I'm all for this. This is a great draft class.
Print it. Why don't you print this out? Send it to me. I got a space on my fridge that'll look great with this.
Oh yeah, I've got the first one printed out with some notes. Maybe I'll fax that over to you and then send this one.
Just business guys.
All right. That is the 2.0 Bears 7-round mock draft. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another video. We are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. Couldn't be more excited, Lucas. Best time of the year.
Possibilities are endless from here.
Endless. That's the beauty of this one. In just the draft in general. We really don't know how it's truly going to fall. I think once we hit 3, I think the Browns selection will be a big one. Travis or Abdul.
Yeah.
And then what we see happens at 3 could be whoa.
Yeah.
Like that could be like if they go Shadur, it could be ooh. I want to see Shadur slip. I want people jumping in front of the Chicago Bears.
Or jumping up with the Chicago Bears.
I don't see a route where he slips past 9. But if he did, come on up. Hey, Pittsburgh. Hey. Our phones work, baby. You love trading with us. But all right, thank you guys so much for tuning into another video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Lots of draft content still to come. I got my IDLs coming out on Thursday. I got my edge rushers, I think, coming out on Friday. I got my quarterbacks coming out on Sunday. Mock draft 3.0 part 1 on Monday. Mock draft 3.0 part 2 on Tuesday, a week from today. And then me and Lucas will be back on Friday morning, the night after the draft, giving you our breakdown of what the Chicago Bears did in the first round and immediately talking about what they're going to be doing that night. And then we're going to go hit the links. Peace out, guys.